know the Joker's secret? Being alone isn't the punishment. Trusting people was.
You ever just sit there, look around and realize you're drowning in a room full of people? Funny thing about that, you can give them everything. Your time, your blood, your goddamn loyalty, and they'll step over it like it's trash on the sidewalk. That's the joke, isn't it? That's the punchline nobody wants to hear. You walk with them, laugh with them, you'd bleed for them, without a second thought. But the moment you stumble, the second you slow down or ask for something back, gone, like you were never there to begin with. Let me tell you something nobody has the guts to say out loud. Most people don't value you. They value what you give. And when the giving stops, so does the pretending. That smile, fake. That concern, temporary. That friendship, conditional. You don't matter to them. You just matter as a resource, as a service, as something they can extract from. And the moment you stop playing your role in their little theater, the moment you stand still and ask, hey, what about me? They vanish, ghosted, erased, like you were never real. I know how bad it burns. Because you thought they cared. You thought walking beside them meant something. But here's the truth. They never wanted you to discover. You were walking alone the entire damn time. You want to know what's worse than being alone? Pretending you're not. People panic at the thought of solitude. They rush into rooms, into crowds, into fake connections, just to avoid the sound of their own silence. They'd rather suffocate in a room full of strangers than breathe freely by themselves. But let me tell you what real hell looks like. It's standing next to someone who doesn't give a damn if you fall or fly. It's laughing with people who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared tomorrow. It's sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't cross a puddle for you. That's hell. That's betrayal, in its rawest, most brutal form. And yet we keep doing it. Why? Because we're desperate to be seen. We want to matter. We want someone, anyone, to look at us and say, I see you. I care. But here's the filthy truth most people choke on. Not everyone standing beside you is with you. Some just want your warmth, your light, your protection, your resources. They're vampires in human skin, draining you dry, one conversation at a time. And once they've taken everything, they toss you to the wolves and tell everyone you were always too difficult, too sensitive, too intense. They twist your loyalty into weakness, your kindness into a flaw. And by the time you realize the game they're playing, it's too late. You're empty. And they're long gone, already feeding off someone else, telling the same lies, wearing the same mask. So what now? What do you do when the people you stood for never stood for you? Do you shrink? Chase? Beg them to see your worth? No. You rise, alone, cold, silent. You walk away from the crowd, even if it tears you apart. Even if it bleeds. Even if it means staring at walls at 3 a.m., questioning everything you thought was real. Because here's the power in standing alone. It's real. It's raw. It's you. No masks. No leeches. No fake handshakes over coffee while they plot behind your back. You finally get to see who you are, without the noise, without the expectations, without the puppet strings. And that silence, that emptiness, it becomes your training ground, your war room, your rebirth. Because the ones who walked away never deserved to walk beside you in the first place. They weren't strong enough, weren't real enough, weren't worthy enough. And the moment you realize that, the moment you accept that not everyone deserves access to you, you become dangerous. You become focused, unbreakable, unstoppable. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop lowering your voice just so someone else can feel tall. And don't let them come back. No. When they see you standing alone and glowing, when they realize you didn't crumble like they hoped, they'll try to creep back in with old jokes, fake apologies, with that "I miss you" act. Let them knock. Let them cry. Let them scream outside that door. But don't you dare open it, because they chose to leave when you needed them most. They chose silence when your soul was screaming for help. They chose themselves when you were drowning. And now you choose peace. Let them feel the loss. Let them drown in their own guilt and regret. That's the consequence of mistaking loyalty for weakness. That's what they get for treating a blessing like it was disposable. And maybe, just maybe, the silence you give them will be louder than any scream they ever deserved. You know what's twisted? People don't realize they had something priceless until they're staring at an empty space they can't refill. And by then, it's too damn late. They'll replay the moments you stood there giving everything without asking for much in return. They'll remember the times they made you wait, ignored your messages, brushed off your feelings. And they'll try to convince themselves it wasn't that bad. But deep down, they know. They know they messed up. They know they took advantage. They know they had someone who was real in a world drowning in fake. Someone who listened without judgment, stayed without reward, gave without conditions. And they threw that away like it was nothing. People love to talk about how they miss the old you. But what they really mean is they miss the version of you that tolerated their disrespect. They miss the fool who kept forgiving, kept answering, kept giving them chance after damn chance. They don't miss you. They miss the control. They miss the benefits. They miss the warmth they never earned. They never saw the real you to begin with. They were too busy using you to look deeper, too selfish to ask what you needed. And now that you've changed, now that you've gone quiet, now that you've built walls and burned bridges, they're lost. And good. Let them stay lost. Let them wander. Let them regret. That's the price of playing with something pure. That's the tax of betraying someone who would have given you the world. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't even owe them a goodbye. You owe yourself peace. And that peace starts the moment you stop looking back. Yeah, it's not easy. Walking alone isn't some fairy tale power trip. It's dark. It's heavy. There are nights where you stare at your phone hoping it lights up. Mornings where your chest feels crushed by silence. Days when you question if you were ever truly enough. But that pain, that's the withdrawal from fake love. That's the detox from people who drained you. And you've got to go through it. No shortcuts. No distractions. No going back. You fight through it minute by minute, scream by scream, until you come out the other side. Harder, smarter, colder. That's what growth feels like. It's ugly. It breaks you. But it builds something better from the wreckage. You become someone who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain their worth to people too blind to see it. When you're alone, you're dangerous, because you're focused, sharp, not distracted by drama or approval or fake connections. You're not out here proving anything to anyone. You've already proved it to yourself. You survived what they thought would destroy you. You kept moving when everyone expected you to collapse. You didn't fold. You didn't become bitter. You became wise. That's what standing alone teaches you. It teaches you to build your own table instead of begging for a seat at someone else's. It teaches you that silence isn't weakness, it's control. It teaches you that not everyone deserves your story, your energy, your presence. Some people are meant to be lessons, not lifelines. And once you learn that, once it really clicks in your bones, you stop clinging. You stop explaining. You stop needing anyone who made you feel like you were too much. Because you finally understand. It's better to walk alone than to walk with people who only smile when you're useful. They'll try to rewrite the story later. Count on it. Once they see you glowing without them, thriving in the same silence they once used to ignore you, they'll come crawling back. But not as themselves. No. They'll come with a mask made of guilt, dressed up in nostalgia, wrapped in excuses like I was going through a lot, or I didn't realize what I had, and you'll feel that sting in your chest. The one that wants to believe they finally get it. But don't fall for it. Because if they valued you, they would have fought for you when it mattered. Not after the damage was done. Not after they watched you pull yourself from the wreckage they helped create. That sudden clarity they have, it's not love, it's loss. It's them realizing they no longer have access to what they once took for granted. It's not regret for what they did. It's regret that you're no longer there to tolerate it. And you, standing stronger, colder, quieter, that's the karma. That's the punchline to their joke. You healed without them. You walked through hell with no guide, no support, no safety net, and still made it out. You know what most people fear, not being hated. No, what they fear is being forgotten, being irrelevant, being replaced. They don't expect you to stop needing them. They think they're unforgettable, irreplaceable, untouchable. And when you prove them wrong, not with revenge, not with drama, but with complete silence, that's when the panic hits. Because now you're no longer feeding their ego. You're no longer playing their game. You've stopped trying to prove your worth to people who couldn't see it with a flashlight in the dark. And that's terrifying to them. Because now they see your value. Too late. Now they hear your silence. And it's louder than anything you ever said. They'll start watching from afar. Stalking your peace. Craving the energy they once treated like it was nothing. But they can't reach it anymore. Because you finally realized the truth. They didn't deserve a front row seat in your life. They didn't even deserve to stand at the door. That's the shift that changes everything. When you stop basing your worth on how others treat you. When you stop begging for love that should have been given freely. When you stop explaining to people who never cared to understand, you start walking alone. And for the first time, the road makes sense. You see clearer, you breathe deeper, and you realize something powerful. You are enough. Your power isn't in how many people you keep around. It's in how fearless you are when there's no one left. When you still choose peace over attention, solitude over fake company, dignity over cheap love. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you unforgettable. And they'll carry that regret like a shadow they can't outrun. You ever notice how they start watching you the moment you go quiet? Not when you were breaking down. Not when you were screaming for help. Not when you were drowning while they held the rope. No, they start watching when you finally stop explaining, when you stop reaching out, when you stop showing up for people who never showed up for you. That's when they notice, because silence is a language they were never prepared for. but in walking away with your head down, jaw clenched, fists scarred, and heart cold, because you've realized something they hoped you'd never understand. Not everyone who stands beside you is on your side. Some people walk with you just close enough to benefit, but never close enough to bleed with you. They want your light, but not your pain. They want the fire without the burn.